Good morning, everybody, and good morning to Washington, D.C. Yes, the Nationals have a 2-0 lead in the World Series. I repeat, the Nationals, who are underdogs in the World Series, heavy underdogs, go into Houston and steal the first two games from the Astros. I'm going to be honest, I did not think this was going to happen, but it did. And the Nationals are on an 8-game winning streak. They have not lost since Game 3 of the NLDS on October 7th against the Dodgers. Or no, I'm sorry, on October 6th against the Dodgers. A Sunday, they won on October 7th. Obviously, you remember Kendrick Grand Slam. And they just kept winning, sweeping through the Cardinals. And now they're just 2 wins away from winning the World Series. Yes, the Washington Nationals are just 2 games away from winning the World Series. And first of all, this is unbelievable. To get this far, and I'm going to be honest, I'm trying to soak in as a Nationals fan. Since remember, I came back on the air way back on October 1st to talk about, kind of preview the wild card game and talk about what was going to happen. And while I've not been in Washington, D.C. At all during this run, it is just, I can only imagine what the city's like right now. There's this new Latin song that I now really like. I posted on Facebook, my Facebook page. I listened to it on YouTube. It's called Calma. I could sing it right now if I wanted to, but I know very little Spanish, but that has kind of been the rallying cry song. Also, Baby Shark, which is a super popular children's song. And if you have little kids, I'm sure they enjoy hearing it. Just this whole season, it's unbelievable. Just thinking back on this whole season. And I'm trying to soak in every moment of this run. Since I know in a few days, or if in a week, whether they win the World Series, say as soon as Saturday night, that's the quickest they can do it, or Sunday night, they win the World Series, you celebrate for a few days, and then it kind of passes by, and I think you celebrate in the off season as well too. But just this run is it's unbelievable. And what's going on with the city, Grant and Danny, I'm going to be honest right there. This is my favorite radio show to listen to, Grant and Danny 106.7, which is being played right now. I listened to some of it this morning too. They've done a great job throughout the playoff coverage, but just what this World Series means to this town. It is unbelievable. And just 8, 19, and 31 to hear, this is unbelievable. And I'm going to say this right now, and I said this at the beginning of the series, and I had these thoughts for a while. If the Nationals win the World Series, I'm going to try to, since I'm in Georgia right now, that's where I live, Georgia, I'm going to try to find a way to get to Washington, to get to the parade, since I want to see another parade, and I like the Capitals parade. If I'm at the parade, I want to take as many pictures as I can, soak them up in memory so I can look back at that moment and really just soak in the entire parade and that atmosphere. Like, this is one reason why you want to win a championship, so you can go to a parade and celebrate again and see everybody up close in person. And if the Nationals win the World Series, 19 and 31, in my opinion, this would be one of the greatest comeback stories in Major League history. Maybe one of the greatest underdog stories, maybe in sports history, if they can win the World Series. But right now, it's 2-0. And yes, I am thinking about going to the parade. I started figuring out how to make plans to go to the parade. And as soon as possible, I'm going to try to get to Washington as soon as possible if they win the World Series. If they don't, if they pull off a 1996 Braves, where you think, oh, back-to-back, of course, the Braves were the making of a dynasty at the time, and the Nationals are far from that. If they don't win the World Series, and they don't, either way, before I start to sound more national, as I will in a moment, no pun intended, whether they win or lose, I will be proud of this team, and I will forever look back at this team as the greatest team in Nationals history. If they don't win the World Series, and I will still think about this team all the time because it was just so much fun, so special just to see what they did. And let me ask you, I saw this team in person in Atlanta 7 weeks ago, and I left walking out of SunTrust Park on the night of the 7th, September 7th, when they just lost the third game in the road in the Braves, and I was wondering, I wonder if this team will go to the World Series. I wonder if they could do that. 7 weeks later, they have a 2-0 lead in the World Series, and they're just 2 games away from winning the World Series. If they win in Washington, it'll be electric. Now, I wonder what the city streets will be like. I wonder if it would be somewhat equivalent to what it was like in Washington with the Capitals, since that was a fun run, too. And let me tell you something. This is reminding me of this Capitals run every bit of what happened. Now, granted, that was kind of in the late spring, kind of early summer period of the year. This is kind of in the fall. So, as the weather was warming up, the only opposite point is the weather's starting to really cool off and get cold. But still, this reminds me of the Capitals run, just all those moments. And, with the Capitals, just like this Nationals team, this team's different. And I started to think, is this team different? Maybe started to think, maybe this team is different when they found a way to beat the Brewers instead of just going home in the wild card game, like the way it appeared to be. Or how about when they beat the Dodgers? It's just so much fun, But I'm really enjoying this, and I'm really gonna just, as I said many times before, and Nationals fans everywhere, if you happen to be hearing this or watching this, soak this all in. Soak it all in. So anyways, now I want to talk, and let's try to go from an unbiased perspective now. Let's talk about games 1 and 2. So going into this, you're wondering if the Nationals can win one game in Houston. Since many people predicted that the Nationals would very likely get swept. And what's even more amazing about this is, let's go back, let's start off with game 1. So Trey Turner leads off the game with an infield single, and he steals. So they don't score. Rendon and Soto strike out on Cole fastballs. And then, here's one thing about Max Scherzer, and this was a trend throughout the game, is I've seen Scherzer pitch a lot of times over the years, and all sorts of regular season games. And this was the hardest he ever had to work. Since this Astros team is really hard to work with. I mean, while Scherzer did strike out the side in the first inning, he allowed a 2-run double to Yuli Gurriel. So it was 2-0. And Gerrit Cole's on the mound. And I'm going to be honest, I was thinking, well, they may not win game 1. That's okay. I had some thoughts about that. Now, I'm sure the Nationals offense did not. But just me as a fan, I did. So then Zimmerman hits a home run in his first World Series at bat. Think about this. Ryan Zimmerman in his first World Series at bat hits a home run against Gerrit Cole. And you start to think, maybe something actually happens. They actually got to Cole. And of course, Scherzer kept working. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, whatever pitches he was throwing, the Astros were either taking, fouling off, forcing him into long at bats. I think Scherzer had 2 walks in the first 2 innings. I mean, he was really walking. And this is the Astros' chance to really break it open. So, 3rd inning, long at bat with Carlos Correa. Astros have runners on 2nd and 3rd. And and Scherzer strikes out Correa. So that's an Astros' chance to really, really go ahead. And he has 6 strikeouts and 69 pitches through 3 innings. So not very efficient at all. In fact, very inefficient normally. So we knew Scherzer would not have a full outing anywhere close to that. We knew, oh no, this is a Scherzer that may only give them 5 innings. And you're thinking, they're gonna need the bullpen to come through for them. And you know what happened? Here's something that happened in the 4th inning. Juan Soto. He's 20 years old. Juan Soto is 20 years old. And in his 2nd World Series at bat, he struck out against Cole the first time. He makes some sort of adjustment, and he hits a home run. It's an opposite field home run onto the train tracks in Houston, which gives the Nationals ties the game. And all of a sudden you're thinking, they're really getting to Cole. Maybe they can win this game. Maybe they actually can. And Max Scherzer, obviously, 95 through pitches through, I think, 4 innings. really having to work hard. Like every inning is a long inning. Base runners, just grinding through, throwing pitch after pitch. You know, some of those games where it seems like he throws, oh, I wonder if Scherzer's going to finish today. Maybe he can go 7. I think he'll go 7 or 8. Not today. He couldn't even throw 15 pitches per inning. He was throwing almost really 20, 25 pitches per inning, something you very rarely see from Scherzer, and certainly very rarely that you see that for every inning after inning. And you know what happens? Kurt Suzuki walks in the 5th inning, and Robles hits opposite field single. So then it's Adam Eaton. Hits a go-ahead RBI single. All of a sudden, it's 3-2 against Cole. So they're down 2-0 against Gerrit Cole. And if you're an Astros fan, I would be thinking, and I've never been an Astros fan. I never will be an Astros fan. We're gonna win this game. We're gonna win this game. You're feeling pretty good about this, right? Then Juan Soto comes up again. Count is 3-2. I think he's got a lot of off-speed pitches out at bat, and he hits a 3-2 opposite field double to give the Nationals a 5-2 lead. And what happened the play before, I want to give credit to Anthony Rendon, who may very well win the MVP this year. Probably not, but he's definitely be a finalist. Ground ball, runs out, hustles out. I mean, if it's a game in May, you think, maybe when they're 19-31, you think, it doesnn't matter, I'll get down the line. I'm not going to go all out. That's too much energy. No, World Series, runs all out. Soto, opposite field double against Cole. So it's 5-2 now. What the Nationals did to Gerrit Cole was something that the Yankees only wish they could have done against him. Or what the Rays would have loved to have those opportunities that the Yankees had against Cole, right? Each postseason start, Gerrit Cole, completely dominant in Game 1. Sure, his strikeout total is a little lower against the Rays in Game 2, 15 strikeouts. Then he has 10 in Game 2. So, again, still dominant. Goes 8 innings both times. Against the Yankees, you start to see, I wonder if Cole's actually beatable. For the first time in a long time, he actually looks beatable. I mean, he gave the Yankees a lot of opportunities, and now Cole is beatable. And the Nationals find a way to do something that no team has done since May. Give Gerrit Cole a loss. And that's what they did. So very interesting strategies I want to talk about. So Scherzer managed to get through 5. And here's what you do in the 6th inning. So Corbin comes in the 6th inning. And again, he's a starter. And throughout the playoffs, he tried against the Dodgers twice. One time it failed miserably. The other time it worked. He did against the Cardinals. Corbin has been that starter that has come out of the bullpen. And this happened all playoffs, as we said. Strasburg did against Milwaukee. Scherzer was the setup man in Game 2 against LA. And Corbin, and he faces the Correa-Alvarez part of the order. He managed to gets through. And now, here's what's different about this game, and especially true in this series. And this also happened in Game 2, but it ended up not really mattering in Game 2 at all. Remember how against LA, and especially against St. Louis, really the formula was starting pitcher, Doolittle, Hudson. That's basically how they won in the playoffs for the most part. Well, this time you knew, they have a 5-2 lead. This time around, they have to use their bullpen. They need the bullpen. They have to, and maybe think in this series, maybe they can't keep doing what they're doing. Maybe you need to rely on other pieces, like a Tanner Rainey. And he gives the home run to George Springer. So, momentum for the Astros. George Springer hitting a home run. Are you kidding me? He's hit so many home runs the last 3 Octobers. I think that was his 13th or 14th career postseason home run, something like that. So he cuts it to 5-3. And then Rainey walks Brantley and Altuve. Very hard lineup to face. So it's the heart of the Astros order. And all of a sudden, they're right back in it, right? And Daniel Hudson comes in, and he strikes out. Yordan Alvarez with the bases loaded. I mean, 7 hitters came to the plate. I mean, think about Springer. And you think about Brantley and Altuve, right? walking, right? And Yordan Alvarez, this lineup doesn't stop. And he strikes out with the bases loaded. That's what they needed. The Nationals bullpen to do something like that. And then George Springer comes up again in the 8th inning. And it's kind of a crazy bounce. I think Kyle Tucker was on second. You think, uh-oh, is it out? Is the game tied? Here we go again. I was thinking the game was tied. And you think, maybe Eaton will catch it. Neither happens. Instead, Eaton can't quite make the play. It takes a crazy bounce and bad base running. Tucker ends up scoring from second. Shouldn't have scored on that play. It's 5-4. Nationals get out of that. And then Doolittle, he's asked to get a 4-out save, and he does it. So the Nationals steal game 1 in Houston. You start to think, wow, they really stole that one. Since the Astros had all the chances in the world to get to Scherzer, and Scherzer did just enough to keep them in the game. And this time, for the first time all playoffs, in a close game, the Nationals have to use other pieces of the bullpen, not named Doolittle or Hudson. And against the Dodgers in Game 5, I think this was the closest they actually came to that. I think they used Rainey. I think they used Corbin some too. But in a legitimately close game, when the starter does not go as long as you might have planned on Scherzer going 7 innings. That might have been the expectations for him to go 7 or 8 innings. That didn't happen. So just good managing. You use Corbin, you use Rainey, and obviously Hudson Doolittle. So just preserving the lead. That Astros team almost won Game 1. And that was just the start of the series. So Game 2, it's now Justin Verlander. And this team just beat Cole. So just like the other game, Game 2 now, we're going to talk Game 2. Trey Turner gets a 4-pitch walk to lead off the game. And then you know what happens? Anthony Rendon hits a 2-run double off the wall. Pulls a double. Vintage Rendon double, that's why they call him Tony Two Bags. And it's 2-0 Nationals, just like that. All of a sudden, they've gotten to Cole and Verlander. They've gotten to both of them. They've scored runs off both of them. This is unbelievable. So then Strasburg comes in. He strikes out Springer for the signature curveball. And here's an interesting thing that happened. So Altuve hits a double, right? And he steals third. Or he tries to steal third. And Suzuki throws him out. That was huge right there. That was huge, since you know what ends up happening next? Brantley hits a single, and Alex Bregman, I think it was a 2-2 changeup. You know, early in the count, he saw a curveball, kind of saw a fastball, ties the game with a changeup. All of a sudden, it's 2-2, and you think, wow. I was thinking at the time, they had a 2-0 lead, and now it's gone just like that. What could happen next? Since looking back now, well, it's 12-3. Altuve getting thrown out probably makes a difference earlier, since maybe Brantley ties the game with a single, or drives in Altuve. Let's just say he hits a single, and there's still no outs, and I guess Bregman comes up with no outs, or there's 1 out, sorry, and maybe Bregman comes up with 1 out, and it's 3-2, 1 outs instead of 2-2-2. I mean, 2 outs. I mean, maybe that's just different, right? And Verlander started to settle down. I mean, we ended up having 4 strikeouts through 2 innings. And it's kind of funny, in the second inning, I was kind of looking at it with the pitch charts and stuff like that. And he ended up throwing threw very few fastballs the second inning. It was almost all sliders and curveballs. I mean, he really mixed off-speed pitches a lot. Rarely saw any fastballs at all. And then Strasburg in the second inning threw a great curveball to strike out Correa. And then he strikes out Chirinos on his changeup. And those curveball changeup, I've heard people talking about all the time. Those are his 2 best pitches by far. And if you had to rank both of them in terms of, you could go to StatCast data, right, and see, best changeup and curveball in terms of average and slugging percentage or whatever. You could look at metrics like that to tell you how good his curveball and changeup are, and just from the pure eye test. So then, and this could have been a critical error. So Jose Altuve, with 2 outs in the third, reaches on a Trey Turner error. And what it looks like is going to happen is Brantley, it's a single to move him over to third. So now Bregman's up again. He has a chance to come up again. And at the time, it's tied. And I'm going to say this right now. And this is going to happen more and more as I go through until later innings. Well, the Nationals won. I'm sure all of you are aware of this. 12-3. It did not feel like 12-3 throughout the game. Like, I'm just going to get out of, since everyone knows I'm a Nationals fan at this point, I'm going to get out of just trying to break the game. Like, other series like the Astros-Yankees series or Cardinals-Braves or whatever, Astros-Rays or whatever, I kind of all broke it down from a neutral perspective. I'm going to tell you how I feel as a fan right now. As a fan, I was pretty nervous for the first 6 innings. In that third inning, of course I was nervous. Since Alex Bregman up, and he just hit the ball to Turner, just made an error recently, and they get out of it. Thinking, all right, yes, they got out of it. Fourth inning, so Strasburg, well, he was not quite as efficient as maybe you wanted him to be, but he was much more efficient than Scherzer, I'd say. He struck out Gerrit on a high fastball and Chirinos on a changeup, so 2 pure opposites right there. So he had 6 strikeouts through 4 innings. And then going into the 5th now, so another opportunity for the Nationals to go ahead. So it's kind of interesting why they didn't score that inning. And I guess it's really not that irrelevant. But Turner hits a single to lead off. Eaton hits a 6-3 double play. And, Rendon walks and they fail to score. Okay, and then Verlander has a 1-2-3 sixth inning. And then so he gets another strikeout. And then it's kind of funny in the inning. I thought it was it's kind of just a random stat. And it's really not relevant now. I just want to read it anyway. So Verlander threw 4 straight curveballs to Zimmerman, which he caused a ground out, which I ended up looking at StatCast after the game. And Ryan Zimmerman, and this happened, I think, in a bat in the 2nd inning or whatever it was, he saw very few fastballs tonight. I think it was probably, since obviously he had a home run on the Cole fastball, so maybe that's why. But either way, so again, moments like that, it's anybody's game. It's anybody's game, and it's surprising how a close game that could have been anybody's game turned into a blowout. That is just quite amazing right there. So then, in the 6th inning, so Gurriel, it's a double with 1 out, and Yordan Alvarez is intentionally walked. So now you have runners on 1st and 2nd, and Carlos Correa, it was a changeup, was popped up, jammed, and then Kyle Tucker strikes out a curveball. So for Strasburg, 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. Ended up throwing 114 pitches. So, again, 114, that's 19 pitches per inning. So like Scherzer, and Strasburg had to work. That's one thing the Astros did a good job of, is they really made the National starting pitchers work and really earn outs. They did not come easy at all. So for all what's happening in this game, through the first 6 innings, not a blowout, I'm nervous all the time. All these nervousness moments where the Astros had runners in scoring position, where they had opportunities to take the lead. And Strasburg just, if he got into trouble, mostly just got out of it. Sure, he made a mistake to Bregman, but for the most part, just got out of trouble all the time with strikeouts, groundouts, all those type of things. And the Astros, looking back, being down 2-0, while the Nationals just broke it open, they know they could have done more. They know they could have done more to win, certainly Game 1. And how did they let Game 2 get completely out of control? That's going to be difficult. So now let's go down to Kurt Suzuki, who I think was hitting .043 going into the game. And you know what he does? He hits a home run off Verlander on the 2nd pitch of the inning. He hits homers off Verlander. All of a sudden it's 3-2. And sure, of course at the time, I think, yeah, that's great, but there's still a lot of work left to be done. Since A, it's only a 1-run game, and B, they have 9 outs to go. And you saw Fernando Rodney warming in the bullpen. And you're thinking, oh no, they have to, can they get through this somehow? And before they knew it, it was 3-2 and that happened. And that brings Verlander out of the game. So here's some good old school baseball that happened. How the Nationals got the next 5. Robles, walk. Turner, walk. Eaton, sack, bunt. So there's one out. And Rendon can't quite come through. Just hits a pop-up in the outfield. So Howie Kendrick hits an RBI single. And it's hit pretty hard. Bregman has to move over to his left. Fairly standard play. He probably makes that 99 times out of 100. Or certainly, maybe more than, or certainly very high percentage play, either way. One of those times, he doesn't make that play. All of a sudden, Kendrick just puts the ball in play, and it's 4-2. And there's Dribble Cabrera. Lines a single. 6-2 now. And then Zimmerman. Kind of a slow grounder to Bregman. Slow roller. He would have been safe anyways, looking at the angles. But Bregman throws it away, trying to make a great play that I don't think he really needed to try. He tried to do something that maybe he really didn't have a shot at doing anyway. So it's all of a sudden 8-2. And the Nationals got those runs again. Repeat. Walks. Sack, bunt. Putting the ball in play. And the Nationals have the second least amount of strikeouts in the game. The Astros don't strike out either. The Nationals don't strike out. So if you want to win a World Series, don't strike out. Put the ball in play. And if teams want to win the World Series, they really need to cut back on the strikeouts. You can't win striking out. And you can't make deep World Series runs doing that. So that's what happened. It's now 6-2. And Suzuki ends up 8-2. And Suzuki bats twice in the inning. So all of a sudden, and when we talk about all those nervous moments before, in the 4th or 5th or 6th inning, are like, come on, Strasburg. Just get out of this inning. Come on, just get out of this inning. Come on, he does it like, all right, good. And then he really labors through. For the first time, I can relax in the World Series. A little bit, at least. I'm like, what if they go up 2-0? What if they actually go up 2-0? And they did go up 2-0. And you know what's even better? Adam Eaton hits a 2-run home run. And it's 10-2. And then you're thinking, they got this in the bag. That's in the 8th inning. And they had fun. They did their dugout dance. You know, him and Kendrick doing the driving in the dugout. So many dugout celebrations this year. And how about this? It's 11-2. Michael A. Taylor hits a home run. And Michael A. Taylor, what a story he's been. Now, you know, he's been in the Nationals organization for a decade now. You know, he's been there almost as long as Strasburg. He's, you know, been in the minors. I think he spent almost 5 full years in the minors. Was given opportunities to contribute. He was given starting opportunities at times. You know, I think his biggest weakness was the strikeouts. Just not being that type of hitter who could consistently stay in the big leagues. We know he had talent. I mean, he was a huge part of the big part of the 2017 team. He really stepped up there and almost the reason why they beat the Cubs. But anyways, that was 2 years ago, and he got a lot of playing time last year. At one point, was one of the league leaders in stolen bases. Kind of lost his playing time. Was basically spent most of this year in the minors in Harrisburg, since that was the closest team to the Nationals. And you know what happened? Robles gets hurt, hits a home run in St. Louis. Robles is taken out of the game, just a defensive replacement. Good for Michael A. Taylor. I'm glad to be seeing him contribute on a World Series team. So many feel-good stories on this team. I mean, think about this team. I feel like everybody's a feel-good story, really. How about Zimmerman, who was hurt a lot this year, really battled plantar fasciitis. He's battled that over the last couple of years, missed weeks, and even at times, even a couple months at times. He hits a home run in the World Series. Definitely a candidate for World Series MVP. Juan Soto, 20-year-old kid who everyone loves in Washington. How about hitting a home run off Gerrit Cole? He's hitting .571 this series. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, he was intentionally walked. Soto was intentionally walked so they could face Kendrick. They were afraid of the 20-year-old kid in the World Series. And I seeing a stat that was the first time the Astros had an intentional walk all year. Soto's a feel-good story. How about Howie Kendrick coming off that Achilles injury and then hitting the grand slam, series MVP? All those stories, right? To then Scherzer coming back from that back injury, which I was thinking at the time, oh no, I hope they don't miss the playoffs for that reason, since Scherzer wasn't available. Not his fault by any means. Or Strasburg finally You know, they're the oh yeah, in Strasbourg, another win, saving their season against Milwaukee when they were when they're down, I think 3-1, giving them 3 innings out of the bullpen. To then, how about beating the Dodgers? Coming back 3 days later to beat the Dodgers in Game 2, winning Game 5, keeping them in the game when it appeared he got into early trouble. When the game could have just been the Dodgers anyways, it could have been all theirs. To then, how about winning Game 3, 12 strikeouts, and then battling through 6 innings? So the durability of Strasburg, there's like, oh, he's not durable, he always gets hurt. And I was reading an athletic article about Strasburg yesterday. And I've known this before, you know, I've known his background, you know. Out of high school, he's in awful shape. I mean, again, I'm not a well-trained athlete at all. I mean, I value exercise and nutrition a lot, something I guess Strasburg did not value at all in 2006. I'm probably in better shape now than Strasburg was in 2006. And I'm not a well-trained athlete at all. I think Strasburg was just in that bad a shape back then. And I don't know, maybe I do really have a hard time getting through college level conditioning. I don't know. But he transformed himself from a out of shape guy who is there to the greatest pitching prospect ever, to then in the major leagues you question his durability all the time. It turns out he was training, his off-season training, he was training as if he was in the World Series. Strasburg, unbelievable. Oh yeah, and he can opt out too. Just everybody on this team, unbelievable stories. Anibal Sanchez, of course, is a feel-good story. 2 years ago, he thought his career was over. He'll be starting the first World Series game in Washington. Just all those stories, it's unbelievable. And the Nationals, I mean, 2-0 lead. So, Astros, did they miss opportunities? Yes, they did. They missed a lot of opportunities to really win certainly one game, maybe even two. Game 1, they had so many opportunities against Scherzer. I mean, come on. There's a reason why he threw 95 pitches through 4 innings. Or about last night against Strasburg. Well, the score was 12-3. You're wondering as an Astros fan, or the Astros team, how did we let them A, win 2 games in Houston? B, how do we have all these opportunities in Game 2, yet we let it get away so badly? It's kind of funny. Starters kept them in the game. Verlander gave those 3 runs. The Astros bullpen just unraveled. The bullpen that we said would be better than that was better than the Nationals, and we certainly on paper was better. Certainly regular season wise, no contest, and even in this series they had a lot more reliable options. Well, now it could very well be over and going back to Washington. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. You know, the city has not had a World Series game played there since 1933. Nationals Park's gonna be electric. I wonder what the city will be like. I wonder what the shots. I wonder if it'll be comparable to what it was like with the Capitals. Will there be people on F Street or Half Street lined up throughout the doors and on the streets around Nationals Park, kind of in the Navy Yard waterfront district? What about downtown? Will downtown be crowded? I bet the bars will be jumping. Will be packed in red. The metro, Washington Metro, will be filled with red throughout the series in Washington. So if the Nationals, they have 3 games in Washington. If they win 2 out of 3, they're World Series champions. That's it. That's all they'll have to do. If they win 2 out of 3 in Washington, just treat it like it's a weekend series. They're World Series champions. That's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. And worst case scenario is they lose game 6 or 7 in Houston. That's the worst case scenario. Of course, let's not worry about that. Let's just enjoy right now. Let's just enjoy getting into game 3. And we'll see what happens. So when I'll go on the air next, I don't know. I don't know what I'll be doing next week. I could be trying to make my way over to Washington, D.C., which if they win the World Series, I'm going to try very hard to get to the parade. So I may not have time to kind of sit down and make a video. I may not have time to. But at some point in time, I will do another World Series video, but I don't know when. Now I know since I've had more time to observe the NFL, I might make an NFL video. I might do one between now and then the World Series, but I don't know. But either way, when I'm back for World Series coverage, World Series content, I don't know. It just depends on what happens with the circumstances. But it's been so much fun. Go Nationals. Let's win the World Series this weekend. Let's have another parade. Thank you for listening.